To everyone, and thank you for registering to this webinar. So this will be about introducing and explaining the TAP, the Transformative Actions Program. I am Annabelle Roblin, Junior Officer at the World Secretariat, and I am working on project development regarding the TAP and also COP21, where ICLEI and partners are organizing a TAP pavilion. So I will present this webinar today. And Aureliano, as I said, Piva from the Capacity Center is here to support us regarding technical matters. So maybe Aureliano, if you would like to say a few words on this matter.
Yes, sure. So just very quick introduction. During the webinar, you will be all muted, so we won't be able to hear what you say. You can still type your questions in the questions box that you see in the panel. And all these questions will be answered at the end of the webinar. At the end of the webinar, there is also going to be a question and answer part. At that point, you will be allowed to raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon. And at that point, you will be given the floor and you will have the opportunity to ask your questions live. And that is everything from the technical point of view. Annabelle?
Right. Thank you very much, Aureliano. So the webinar will last approximately an hour with, first of all, a 25-minute presentation approximately, which will take you through the TAP, introducing and explaining the concepts of the TAP and what it means for ICLEI's work and strategy, the content of the program, that is the 4 pillars of the TAP, and then some general information on the TAP 2015 application and selection process, that is the selection of TAP projects in the run-up to COP21 next December. So this will include information on the timeline of the process, on the selection criteria, on the application form, and on the selection process. And as Aureliano said, afterwards we will have a question and answer session where you can ask your questions to us. So as a complement to this webinar, we will also send you afterwards a link to a presentation given by Yunus Arakan, who is the head of global policy and advocacy here at ICLEI World Secretariat, and which will give you some more background information about the international climate negotiations process and COP21. So maybe just before I start the presentation, I would like to say a few words about what we can actually do for cities through the TAP and what we cannot do and what offer. You probably heard about TAP already, and so it's probably important to say it now. So that what we can offer to cities whose project is selected as a TAP project is, first of all, visibility, of course, and the opportunity to present their project at COP21 within the pavilion that ICLEI and partners are organizing. By the same token, the opportunity to engage more directly with representatives of the financial sector and of the business sector who will be also invited to the pavilion. We can also offer assistance with the application form, that is answering any questions that you may have about the offline application form, the online application form. This I will talk about later, of course. And so to the best of our abilities, we will also be very glad to help cities making strong applications. So what we cannot do, on the other hand, is that ICLEI is not a financial institution, and so rather we would pre-broker between cities and financing bodies, here again where possible, and because this we know that this is not an easy task, but yes, we would try and play this role. And in terms of the application process also, as I said, we will be very happy to help cities making strong applications. However, we do not have the capacity to support applicants in gathering the necessary data, information, and documents required. So an important thing to note is that, of course, ICLEI has an important advocacy work regarding COP21, but also in the post-COP21 period. ICLEI represents cities, and so really through the TAP, we seek to advocate for better climate finance for cities, for regional, for local and regional climate action. And so the TAP will seek to contribute to the elaboration of new financing mechanisms for local and regional climate action. So we would support cities in designing bankable and transformative projects to show the potential that lies at the local level. And also, by doing this, we seek to create trust among subnational governments, financing institutions, and investors to lower the current perception of risk, raise visibility, as I said, of the local potential, etc. So let's start now. So you will see from this slide that the TAP is a 10-year program, the purpose of which is to accelerate implementation of climate actions of local and subnational governments in the crucial pre-20 and post-2020 phases, while raising the level of ambition at all levels, local, national, and international, of course. So more specifically, as I said, the TAP will seek to improve access to existing capital flows to cities and regions, and also to catalyze additional capital flows from both public and private investors. So the TAP has two missions, one of which is political, and one is, you could say, more the climate mission of the TAP. So, as I said, on a political level, the aim of TAP is really to actively advocate for better and quicker access to larger amounts of climate finance for cities and regions. Why? Because this is where climate change can be tackled effectively, and because, as we know, effective climate action at all levels has become urgent, given the challenges linked to climate change, but also urbanization. So by engaging in the TAP, by submitting a proposal of transformative action, local governments and their network will pursue and intensify their efforts to bridge the gap between negotiations and the actual implementation process. So this leads us to the climate mission of the TAP, which I already talked about a bit. That is that the TAP aims to assist the pre-brokering between subnational authorities and financing bodies where possible, and to mobilize cities and regions to design these transformative and bankable climate actions. So to achieve these two missions, the TAP will rely on two processes. So first of all, a process of mobilization of key actors at local, national, and international levels. And then a process of visibilization and showcasing the climate actions already being implemented, but also, as I said, the potential that lies at the local level. So this will be done by drawing on already existing tools, that is reporting platforms, for instance, but also TAP will have its own tools, that is a TAP online platform, that you could say is an online registry of climate ambition, and also the TAP Pavilion that will be organized every year at COPs. So I will elaborate a bit more on these 2 points later on. So the TAP will guide ICLEI's work with and for cities and regions over the next 5 to 10 years. And so it will enable ICLEI offices to better connect their cities to funding opportunities, as I said before. And so in this sense, the TAP will really contribute to ICLEI's political agenda towards and beyond COP21. So if we look at the content of the TAP, so you can see on the graph the 4 pillars of the TAP. So let's start with the TAP project pipeline. So this is the process by which every year up to 100 TAP projects are selected in the run-up to the annual UNFCCC COP and presented during the COP, starting at COP21 this year. So during this process, cities and regions are actively mobilized to apply to TAP, and then, as I said, supported in their application by the TAP team. This stage is already underway. As you may know, applications for the TAP have already started on the 5th of May, with the first deadline for project submission being on the 15th of June. Turning to the TAP platform, so before the COP, all projects submitted by cities and regions will be featured on this online platform. So all the projects will be centralized there, and the platform will make them more visible and will enable financing institutions to have access to relevant information about them and to consider financing. Regarding the TAP Pavilion, so the TAP Pavilion is the physical component of the program, you could say. That is the space where the selected TAP projects will be presented to national delegations, international donors and financing agencies, both from the public and the private sector. And this will be during the COP. So finally, the TAP Advocacy for Accelerated Climate Action will build on previous achievements in local climate advocacy and will seek to diversify and strengthen it in various ways by raising awareness of the local climate potential, by seeking to deepen the dialogue with national governments, thus promoting effective vertical integration between different levels of government. The TAP will also seek to reinforce the engagement, as I said, with international and national funding bodies and development agencies, and will also continue the coordination of information sharing and debate on local and subnational climate finance in the realm of international climate negotiations and related fora. So you can say that the TAP advocacy work will really seek to create this essential interaction nexus between all levels of government, as well as engaging with financing bodies. Now, turning to the TAP 2015 application and selection process. So this is the timeline from May to December 2015, so leading to the TAP 2015 pavilion. As I said, so applications through the offline form starting on the 5th of May. To support the application process over the next 2 months, ICLEI will facilitate webinars for potential applicants to the TAP. So the online form, as I will explain later on, is not available at the moment, but will be made available in the next few days on the TAP website. The form and the website will be released in several languages so that cities from all over the world can be offered the opportunity to participate, because we know that language can be a barrier. So on top of English, there will be a French, Portuguese, Spanish, Korean, Mandarin, and Japanese translation. So as you can see from the timeline, there are 3 deadlines for TAP applications. That is 15th of June, 15th of July, and 15th of August. And then, so in August, September, the selection process will start and leading to the notification of successful TAP projects in October, beginning of October. The uploading of the TAP projects profile on the online platform towards the end of October. And finally, the presentation of the 100 projects in the pavilion during COP21. So, what do we mean by a TAP project? So let's look first at the definition. So when we talk about a TAP project, we refer to 2 types of projects. That is fast-track transformers on the one hand and post-2020 transformers on the other hand. They differ in 3 different aspects. So first of all, the stage they have reached. That is, either they are already fully designed with a clear budget and action plan and management structure, or they only have the concept well designed. In terms of needs identified, so to actually enable the implementation of the project, so either the project only requires funding through investment or grants, or the project not only requires finance, but also additional advice and expertise in terms of capacity building, strategy development, technical and financial advice, etc. And so considering these 2 aspects, then we look at the implementation period. That is when the project would be ready for implementation, so either in the pre-2020 period or in the post-2020 period. And so, of course, cities and regions can apply from now on to for both types of projects. I mean, as in both types of projects would be accepted from now on. So turning to the selection criteria. So if we consider the overall selection distribution of TAP projects, 5 criteria will be taken into account. So first of all, the level of transformative potential, which I will define in the next slide. Secondly, the regional balance, that is, we are looking that projects are distributed fairly equally between the north and the south. Then we are looking for a balance of mitigation and adaptation projects. Also a sectorial balance, so projects in transport, energy, biodiversity, housing, etc. And finally, transparency, that is how informed the different projects applications are. So now if we look at criteria for individual projects, so the key aspect is that TAP applicants should have the potential to transform society, and by transform we mean 3 different criteria. That is, the project should be ambitious, cross-cutting, and inclusive. So if we look at these 3 components more in detail, by ambitious, we mean projects that can be, so either first-time projects that will benefit a large proportion of the population, or existing projects or action plans that will be scaled up to benefit an even larger proportion of the population. So in terms of cross-cutting, we look at how different communities will benefit from the project. We look at how different types of resources will benefit in terms of management, that is sustainable energy, air quality, land use, procurement, etc. And finally, we look at how the project contributes to other subnational, national, and global sustainability goals. Sorry. And so regarding the inclusive criteria, we look at how and if the project encourages cross-departmental coordination for effective implementation. We look at how and if the citizens and local stakeholders are actively engaged. We look at how the project fosters collaboration with other levels of government. And finally, if the private sector and how is actively engaged. Now, let's take a closer look at the application form. So I will show you how to access the application form from the TAP website. So this is the apply page. So let me maybe go back to the home page. So this is the home page, and then you can see this apply button. So when you go there, you will reach this page. So as you can see, there's a 3-step process. So first of all, if you choose to apply via the offline system, you will have to download the application form from here. Step 2 will be to submit this application form by filling in these fields first of all, and then you will click on this button here to upload your application form. And then the additional form button is to enclose in a compressed file, any supporting documents that will be required through the application as indicated in the application form. So let me just make it clear that local and national governments wishing to submit projects to the TAP may do so. So either through the TAP offline form, which can be downloaded from here, or through the online form, which is not on the website at the moment, but which will be made available this week. And both forms, of course, have the same content. So I have already downloaded the application form for us to have a look together. So now there are 6 different tabs. So unfortunately, we won't have the time to go through all the fields in detail. as you can see that there is a large number of them. However, I will take you through the main section. And I will also take, I would like also to take this opportunity to stress that the form may seem really lengthy, but it has been diligently designed to minimize the workload of applicants. And what you should maybe keep in mind is that we still need to be able to capture the most detailed and comprehensive information on the project to be able to assess its transformative potential. So let's have a closer look then. So this is the Readme sheet that applicants should read carefully before starting the application. So you will find, for example, information on how to submit the form, as I explained earlier. So this part is important. That is, after you upload your offline form onto the website, as indicated, you will be given login credentials to be able to edit and review your application. And so, of course, this will also be the case with the online application process. Then this also tells you that the sheets marked in green are mandatory. However, within these different tabs, some fields are mandatory and some other fields are not. So we will see later on how this looks like. Also, some fields will offer a drop-down menu, while others will require manual entries. And finally, some fields will be in italic. These are to collect complementary information, which are not mandatory, but will enhance the value of your application. So we will see this more in detail later. So first of all, the registration sheet is a quite straightforward sheet that is designed to collect basic information on the applicants. So the designated contact point, the head of government, the designated political liaison, and terms and conditions. Then the TAP overview sheet is probably the most important sheet in this application form, because it essentially seeks to capture the transformative potential of the project. And these sheets will serve for the first screening of the projects, and it will also be the part of the application form that will be uploaded onto the online platform, the TAP online platform that I described to you earlier. So as I said previously, so for example, you will have drop-down menus. So first the applicant should read the definition here and then select the appropriate option. So this also applies for these fields, for example, and a few other fields. So as you can see, we find the three criteria of transformative, of what transformative means, that is ambitious, cross-cutting, and inclusive. And so you will be required to explain also, as I said, in descriptive fields, explain some points of your application. So now, if we look at the applicant profile sheet, so this sheet tries to gather more background contextual information about the applicant. So geopolitical information, socio-economic information, government and community financial information. Also, this important bit on governmental ambition. And yes, then sectorial information. So you will see, of course, that you do not have to fill in all these fields, but you should only fill the fields that are actually relevant to the project. Yes, so you can see. Now, if we move to the project profile sheet, so this one seeks to collect core or detailed information about the project itself. So general project information, information on the concept of the project, in terms of the management structure, and also more detailed information on the transformative potential of the project. For example, we would try and see the potential co-benefits of the transformation. Then we also look at the climate potential of the project, both in terms of mitigation and adaptation. Also, information on the financial feasibility of the project, on the technical feasibility. And then, as I said, you will be required, especially when you see these little asterisks through the form. So these indicate mandatory fields. So you would have to fill them and also to upload the corresponding document. So that's it for the project profile sheet. And finally, regarding the applicant commitment sheet, so this sheet is not mandatory. If the local government council has decided on specific climate targets, both mitigation and adaptation, the applicant may choose to report them here in order to show how the project submitted can help reach these targets, or alternatively to show also how the commitment itself can be transformative. So yes, you can report actions in terms of mitigation and in terms of adaptation here. So this is it for the form. As indicated, once completed, the offline application form must be uploaded on the TAP website. And so after submission, the TAP team will upload your content online and provide you with login credentials to view your application online. And this also applies to the online process. So back to the presentation and some more detail on the actual selection process. So the selection process is still being defined at the moment, but the following entities will be involved in the process. That is each TAP partner. So by TAP partner, I mean local government organizations, financing institutions, civil society, NGOs, etc. So each TAP partner will appoint both a representative to sit in the TAP project selection panel, but also an expert who will sit in the expert committee. And so the expert committee would make recommendations to the project selection panel. So guidelines are still being developed, but what we can say for now is that the process will be based on a consensus-seeking approach rather than a strict voting system whereby the majority would win somehow. So yes, we would rather look for general agreement on what a good TAP project is. So that's it for the presentation. We will now turn to the question and answer session. So I believe maybe we have a few questions already, Aureliano?
Yes, we already have a couple of questions from Philippa Borgström. The first of them says, will the 100 cities each year will be new, or can a city be in TAP several years in a row? Annabelle?
So yes, thank you for your question, Philippa. So indeed, the plan is that every year 100 new projects would be selected to be presented in the pavilion. However, projects can stay on the online platform that will be on the TAP website. They can stay there for the whole duration of the TAP program, and so, for example, if the project was labeled as a fast track or as a post-2020 transformer 1 year, it may happen that the next year the actual progress was such that it can now be classified as a fast track transformer. So, yes, 100 new projects this year, but at the same time, the existing project can still be on the platform, on the online TAP platform. Does that answer your question, Philippa?
Philippa, I can give you the floor if you want.
Yeah, Philippa?
We can hear you.
Oh, hello. Thank you. Yes, that was a good answer to my question.
Perfect.
And there is a second question, again from Filippa. For cities who have filled out Carbon, have they done most of the work already? Are the questions the same?
Right. So indeed, there will be synergies between the TAP application form and the CCR reporting process. So the applicants who wish to do so may activate this synergy either at the time of submission, that is in the online form. There will be a tick box where applicant can choose to to report to the CCR. And so I think your question was more about what if the applicant is already reporting to the CCR, then they may choose indeed to connect their TAP application to the CCR reports. And so they would indicate this to us, and so then we would pre-populate the fields of the TAP application that are similar to the CCR reporting sheets. So indeed, we would try and do that for cities and regions who are already reporting to Carbon, indeed.
Did that answer your question, Filippa?
Yes, partly, but I was wondering, do you have an approximation of how much of the, if they've already filled out Carbon, how much of the work have they already done? Is it 10% or is it 80%?
Okay, so I am not aware exactly of the content of the CCR form, so what I will do is get in touch with my colleague here at the World Secretariat who knows more about this, and I will get back to you on this question. But I think because the TAP application form was designed, drew quite heavily also on the Carbon, well, in some respects. So I think it would be a significant part, but I cannot confirm this to you now. So I would rather confirm with my colleague and then get back to you on this point. If yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Philippa, for your questions.
If there are other questions from the attendees, just raise your hand clicking on the hand icon, or you can also type them in the question box. There is a question from Christina Anderskov. Christina, I will unmute you now. It seems that I cannot unmute you. Maybe that's because you are calling from a landline and
yeah, I think Christina would need a PIN number to be able to
try to send her. She's texting that she will write the question.
Okay, perfect.
So maybe let's wait a few more minutes. So here is the question from Christina. How big should the project be? 10 million euros or 100 million euros project? And what is your success goal? How many projects do you aim to get funding for every year? Annabelle?
Yes. So in terms of how big the project should be, we have not defined a roof for this. So yes, I mean, there would not be limits for now. Again, this is a point that we are going to clarify over time, but for now there is no specific requirements on this point. And regarding how many projects, so just to clarify, yes, we would not think in terms of how to say. the 100 projects is obviously the most ambitious, well, the ideal scenario, but what I would like to say is that of course, we would like to, for these projects to obtain the funding they actually need, but again, we are not a financing institution, so we would try to pre-broker things for pre-broker discussion, like pre-broker between some national authorities and the financing institution. And so, yes, we would measure the success in terms of actually being able to facilitate this discussion, but we cannot guarantee that there will be funding in the end. So, yes, for us, it's really how many transformative projects we can actually have in the pavilion, and how we can facilitate discussions with financing representatives from the financial sector who will be there. So I hope this answers your question, Christina.
Yes, apparently it does. And apologies for the technical issue, Christina.
Yes, sorry for that. So do we have any other question?
There are no further questions. So you can maybe conclude with some few remarks, Annabelle.
Yes, and thank you, Aureliano. So this was obviously a very general session about the TAP. If you have any specific questions, please do not hesitate to get in touch with us. The World Secretariat, there is the contact of Marie-Sophie Beyer, who is the COP21 TAP coordinator here at the World Secretariat, so do not hesitate to get in touch with her. But also you can see 2 email addresses at the bottom, one that is specifically for the TAP 2015 Pavilion, and one is more specific to TAP related questions, as in the 10-year program. So just a reminder that we will send you afterwards a video, a link to the video by Yunus Arikan about the international climate negotiations process. And so, yes, finally, I would like to thank you very much for participating in this webinar. And also I would like to say that we are looking forward, obviously, to receiving your transformative project proposals. Thank you very much.